There's one fact that you can't overlook in business, and that is that you can have the most wonderful products and services. You also can have a fabulous collection of people who really like you and maybe even like your business. But the fact of the matter is you're missing one ingredient. Without sales, you have no business. In this chapter, we'll take a look at how to record sales in QuickBooks, so you can begin to bring all of those lists of your products and services and your customers together to make the transactions that will make your business a success.
I've opened up a file from the Chapter 10 folder. It has just a couple of things that have been added. If you've been following along, I just needed to make it a little bit more interesting as we get into our sales process. I added a couple of new customers and also a couple of new courses and CBTs that we'll be working with. Other than that, the file is exactly the same. What we're going to do now is go into the sales process. We actually love making sales, so what we want to do is start by taking a look at the home page so we can get an overview of what the sales process might entail. It's possible for the sales process to be very involved, including providing an estimate, hopefully it gets converted into a sale, and a resulting invoice. And of course, we hope that all of those eventually get paid. But what we're going to do is start with the simplest sale of all, a cash sale. Now, cash doesn't mean that they necessarily paid with cash. It just means that somebody walked into the store, made a purchase, and paid for it, and it's not being invoiced. It's a single transaction that all happened at one time. So what we're going to do is go ahead and do that one first, and it's actually very simple and straightforward. I can do a lot of these things from the customer menu, but I'm going to do it from this little flow chart on the home screen instead. And I'm simply going to click the Create Sales Receipt option. This brings up a form, and throughout the sales process, we'll be using a lot of different forms: sales receipts, invoices, statements, even credit memos. What you'll learn is that they basically are all the same. You're going to make a choice. In this case, we're going to start by choosing a customer and or a job. It will then fill in fields of information so we don't have to retype it all. Then, of course, with sales, we'll have to describe what items or services the person was buying, what the rate is, if they're getting any discounts, and those types of things. As I said, this one will be pretty straightforward. We're going to simply do a quick sale. We'll go over to the drop-down, and we'll select one of our new customers like Mark Patterson. And I just wanted to remind you quickly that if this was a person who just walked in off the street, you don't have to go in and create their complete customer profile. You can just click Add New and type in their name and then do a quick add. Now, that's not going to collect all of their information, but the only required information as far as QuickBooks is concerned is their actual name. So I'll go ahead and select Mark because he already was in our database. You'll see that it fills in all of the information. Way over on the right-hand side, it gives us the date of the current transaction, and it also starts with a sale number. Now, QuickBooks does what most people would think it should do, which is start with sale number 1. There's technically nothing wrong with that, but I kind of like to use pufferfish mentality, and that's my term for when you're a small business or a new business, you have to kind of puff yourself up to make yourself look bigger than you are until you make it. When you create a sale number 1, somebody obviously is going to know that they are your first customer, and that's not always what you want to do. So just like when you order checks from the bank, I also like to start my ordering with invoices and sales orders and those types of things at something other than 1. Now, it doesn't have to be too tricky, and it's actually not that cryptic if somebody was really looking at it, but I like to start at something like 1001. QuickBooks does allow you to type in your numbers for sales in this case, or for invoices, and then it will consecutively number them from that point forward. So this is a really easy way to start off with a good number that doesn't let people know that they happen to be your first or your second customer. All right, once we get that done, I'm going to move back over to the main part of our cash sale receipt, and of course we need to choose an item. These are all from our inventory. I'll go to the drop-down. We are going to say that Mark was interested in taking a Word course, so we'll give that a selection. All I have to do is move over and tell them how many he purchased. He's all by himself, so he only purchased 1. And if there was any math to do, QuickBooks would have done that, and basically my form is almost finished. We can go ahead and add as many items as we need, but I do need to say how he paid for this because he's paying for it at the moment. I'm going to come up and I'm going to do a check number because he did write me a check. And then I also want to choose the payment method. Notice that you have cash, check, and a variety of credit cards. In order to accept credit cards, you will have to work through a merchant account and some of those things that we'll discuss in the chapter specifically on that. But of course, anybody can accept cash or checks. Perfect. Now for us, this is basically finished. One of the things that you need to do, though, is take a look at the bottom left-hand corner, because all of the sales forms that we work with have options. If Mark is actually standing in my store, I'm probably going to have a printer next to my computer, and I'll just print him out a receipt because he wants a receipt and I want to have one as well. Well, mine is already in here. It's electronic, so I don't need one. But usually when people make a purchase, they want some type of copy or proof of purchase, and this is the way it could be done. Also, with most of your forms, you can check to alternately email something. Now, maybe people don't want paper, and this is a good time to find out if they want to have paper statements and invoices, or if they would prefer to be emailed. If you check to be emailed, then we can queue that up and use the email later on. In this case, I'll just leave it to be printed, and I'll move over to the right-hand side and simply do a save and close. That, of course, will return us back to our home screen.